All right, everyone, to show how out of touch the legacy media is with like YouTube or certainly at this point alt tech or anything like that, did you see some of the stories over in the UK media, especially the making of Sargon of Akkad? It's very funny because it's literally the inverse of all criticism that's been aimed at him by people who are actually on the right. They're saying, well, he's like sort of sold out or cucked or something. He's a radical centrist. Liberalism and meme worthiness and stuff. Meanwhile, the UK's press is saying, oh, he's a Nazi. He's far right. He wants to jackboot down the street. There's going to be goose steppers if Sargon ever achieves office. Of course, he's joined UKIP along with Dankula and Paul Joseph Watson. I don't think it's just a joke. It is part of a youth appeal outreach, and you look at what they're doing. Here's how you know. Here's the tell for knowing that they're scared. They waited until he made his first, sort of actual nationwide appearance over there, talking there on screen, basically. I think he was coming in remotely at the time. And they immediately pounced with articles that in part were probably at least partially written beforehand. Basically skeleton articles that just sort of flesh it out with an extra paragraph and dump it. Now, the reason why they're doing this, here's the thing. Despite the fact that he's got notoriety on YouTube, despite the fact that he's well-known online, Sargon, if he was walking down the street, most people in the UK who see him wouldn't know who he is. Despite the fact that he's well-known, because there's sort of a semi-isolation between the online realm and real-world politics, especially in news, because of that, the first exposure to Sargon that a lot of people would have really would be news write-ups. Now, if he starts making speeches and standing up on stage and stuff, he might be able to pitch his ideas to people who don't know anything about him, which means that he is the first one making them familiar with what he believes in. Conversely, if they write a bunch of hit pieces first in The Guardian, the BBC, the Telegraph, wherever, the Sun UK, this is a form of propaganda. It's inoculation. What they're doing is that they're hoping that people will associate Sargon, his name, and by default, therefore by extension, UKIP, and other content creators, with radicalism, with bigotry, with far-right sentiment, and with Nazi movements, basically, with political violence. Now, the truth is, of course, that's not true at all. He's a classical liberal. His goal, basically, is, hey, less censorship. UKIP doesn't need to be a one-platform party. We're also branching out and to protect internet free speech, and we're tired of some of the corruption in our government, basically, I suppose. They're hoping that people will not hear that message, though. What they're hoping to do is make it so people will hear the name Sargon of Akkad, and they'll say, oh, that Nazi over there, that bigot and radical. They thus will never actually listen to his message. They will willfully turn off their information receptors and simply consider him, against all evidence, to be a bigot. Now, this has been done to many others. They've tried to do this to online commentators to stop the spread of their popularity beyond an echo chamber. It's a form of kneecapping. This was done by Trump to some of his adversaries, by the way, when he gives someone a linguistic label so that people who are not immediately aware of that person's actual platform associate with them with something negative before they even hear them speak. It makes them far less receptive. It prevents the spread of that person's popularity. He did this over and over again. The legacy media has adapted the same basic tactic to use against the online world. Now, they're still losing, because what happens is, here's the thing. You can't inoculate all of the sheep against every online commentator. The problem is that because of you could call it the alt-influence network, the thing that Becca Lewis was alluding to. Now, of course, her write-up on it is wrong. These people, in many cases, debate one another. But they are part of a network. They're all content creators. Now they've been associated with one another. That's not a detriment. That's not a bad thing for us. That's a good thing. Because it means that a person might think, well, Sargon the Nazi, and there's Spencer the Nazi, and Computing Forever the Nazi. Oh, who's Tim Pool? Who's that? I'll go listen to him. Then they get de-inoculated by Tim Pool, say, oh, this dude seems pretty cool. Oh, he's defending Sargon. What, you mean I've been lied to? Therein lies the one weakness of the strategy, and there's really no way around it, that the legacy media has employed in order to actually cut off the counter strategy that can be employed, which is we're all sort of, defending one another after a fashion, at least in a roundabout, implicit way. In order to combat that, They would have to make 10 times the hit pieces. They'd have to absolutely ream everyone. It would look so partisan and so transparently obvious that it was a corporate hit piece that it would end up just giving their enemies more ammo. So I think that they lose, but it is interesting to see, predictably, what were they going to do? Sargon makes a speech. If Sargon were to have gotten up on stage at the UKIP rally and said, "I support third wave feminism. I am a gay man now. I'm doing that. I believe that transgendered people are better than non-transgender people." If he were to parrot just a bunch of far left stereotypes, they'd still be calling him a Nazi. And he obviously knows this, as any of us know this. It's going to happen to anyone who tries to get into politics, into business, or if they're just staying in the online world. They're doing activism or journalism. Or look at Lauren Southern. She makes documentaries. She gets called Ava Braun, basically. Happens over and over and over again. You look at Crowder. Crowder uses colorful language. All of a sudden, it pisses off one person from Vox, and he becomes the next Goebbels. It's just the way that it's working. It's defamatory. It's clearly wrong. It's propagandistic, but that's the way that it's going to work. My advice, of course, to him is to ignore it. Don't even bother addressing the hit pieces. Of course, there's nothing really to be done about it. The only option in such a scenario is really for other major creators to step up and bypass the propaganda. There are plenty of people that can do that within the realm of the UK. Of course, you don't want a bunch of Americans and Canadians going to the UK and saying, "Oh, well, I'm proud to endorse my good friend Sargon," or something. I think that would feed into the collusion rhetoric. That's also a separate bit of propaganda. Literally, the global nature of online commentary in that form, while it's a great strength, also comes, it is a double-edged sword. It comes with a little bit of weakness. It's totally outweighed by the benefit that we all have communicating with each other as content creators in one form or another, including for the purposes of criticism and debate between us. But it is there. There is an essence there that feeds into the propaganda they've already fed into the minds of the gullible mainstream population, which is foreign states are trying to take over people who are necessarily corrupt, and they're only pretending to be normal, according to the Data Society. These people will try to interfere within our elections. It's like with James Wood there, getting censored on Twitter because he puts up an obviously sarcastic, satirical meme suggesting that male liberals should stay home and let their girlfriends vote instead alone because that's empowering women. Who cares if it actually causes some soy-faced moron to stay home and not vote? Trust me, who is he going to vote for in the first place? Probably end up voting for Mickey Mouse because even Bernie Sanders would be too far right for him. So yeah, just a little bit about the Sargons. I thought it was very, very funny because I'm seeing these articles, people are reposting them, and I'm like, oh, there's 4 or 5 hit pieces being written about it. Now, supposedly, only a couple of years ago, YouTubers and online commentators, vloggers, bloggers, all of us, were meaningless. The legacy media thought we were a joke. They're like, oh, yeah, you mean these afterthoughts that have, teenage audiences and they do gaming and shit. But now all of a sudden we're taking over the world and we're part of a grand conspiracy. Look how times have changed. They're afraid we're winning. That's about all. Peace out.